Imagine waking up every morning to the sound of fighter jets screaming overhead, and the constant shadow of warships slicing through the water. Beneath the surface, naval mines wait silently. Explosions can rip through the air without warning. Smoke and fire sometimes stain the sky. This is the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow strip of water just 22 miles wide at its tightest point. Every single day, nearly 1/5 of the world's oil flows through here. Massive tankers glide past shores controlled by two rival powers, the United States and Iran. Yet in the middle of all this tension, life goes on. Fishermen still head out at dawn. Shipbuilders hammer away on wooden boats. Ancient forts stand watch under the hot Gulf sun. This is the hidden human story of the most dangerous energy choke point on Earth. Larak Island. The island is located at the narrowest point of the Strait of Hormuz. The distance from the Larak coast to the Musandam Peninsula, Oman, is only about 22 miles. This is the gateway that all the giant oil tankers from the Persian Gulf must pass through to reach the rest of the world. Much of the island is a forward military base of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. Despite its military significance, the island remains sparsely populated, with a total population estimated at around 1,000 people. The two main settlements are Larak Shahari, the larger coastal village, and Larak Kuhi inland. Traditionally, Larak was home to a small community of Dahuriyin people closely related to the Shihu tribes of Oman's Musandam Peninsula. They traditionally spoke Kumzari, or a closely related dialect called Raraki/Laraki, an Iranian language. Women often carry water and mend fishing nets, while children play between shadows and sunlight. Daily life revolves around fishing and diving, with very limited agriculture. Boats leave at first light and return with the tide. Fishing remains the island's quiet backbone. Beneath this routine lies a deeper inheritance shaped by isolation, the sea, and belief. The island has long stood at a crossroads of passage and power. Yet its people hold to a quieter center. In the early 16th century, Portuguese forces built a small, nearly square fort with 4 bastions on the northern coast to secure freshwater sources and help control maritime traffic. This fort became part of their effort to control one of the most vital maritime passages on Earth. Ships once crossed these waters under distant flags, and cannon fire once answered the horizon. The Portuguese fort stands weathered against the wind, its walls broken yet persistent. Now only fragments remain. The fort no longer guards the strait. It simply watches as history passes. Despite its military role, life on the island remains quiet. Today, Larak hosts an IRGC Navy presence, including anti-ship missile capabilities such as Silkworm HY-2 systems. Red Beach, Hormuz Island. No one visits Hormuz Island without first seeing Red Beach. It stretches along the shore in the Persian Gulf. At first light, it looks unreal. The sand glows deep crimson, almost like blood. This color comes from rich ochre soil and more than 70 minerals. Iron oxide, mainly hematite, gives it its strong red tone. These materials formed over millions of years. They were pushed up by the island's salt dome geology. Waves move in slowly and quietly. They pull thin lines of red into the turquoise water, then push them back to shore. The surf often turns pinkish red. After rain, the effect grows stronger. Streams of colored earth run down from the hills and stains the sea for a short time. The sound of the water stays soft. Life gathers around this rare ground. Local families set up small stalls and shaded spots. They offer food crafts and stories. Tourism has reached the island. People come for its strange colors. They walk slowly, watching each step, as if the land holds meaning. Closer still, the culture shows deeper layers. The red earth is not just seen, it is used. Locals call it galak, it is edible and part of daily cooking. People collect and process the soil with care. They grind it into fine powder and mix it into sauces and dough. The result feels almost unreal. Red cliffs and beaches look bright enough to eat. The air carries a light mineral smell mixed with sea salt. Morning light turns the hills into fire-like shades. Between trade food and old stories, the beach keeps its identity. Majara residence, Hormuz Island. Majara residence rises near the shoreline in the Persian Gulf. It is a cluster of about 200 colorful domes. The project was designed by Zeev Architects and finished in 2021. In 2025, it received the Aga Khan Award for architecture. The domes sit low on the land, spread like soft forms across the earth. Light moves over them, shifting between red, yellow, blue, and green. The air feels open, quiet, yet lived in. These structures use a method called super adobe. Long bags are filled with local soil and sand, then stacked in layers. Barbed wire runs between the layers to add strength. Much of the material comes from the island itself, including soil from the nearby port. The domes form strong, low shapes that resist heat and wind. Their colors come from natural ochre in the ground. The forms echo both the island's bright hills and older desert building styles. The project focuses on sustainability and local people. Residents were trained to build the domes, even those with no prior skills. Most materials come from the site, which lowers cost and reduces carbon impact. Thick earthen walls hold cool air inside, often below 80 degrees Fahrenheit, even when the outside heat is much higher. The open layout allows wind to pass through. There are no hard barriers, so people and animals move freely. The design keeps a direct link to the sea. Closer still, daily life unfolds. Doors open into shared courtyards. Today, Majara works as an eco-tourism and cultural center. It offers places to stay, along with spaces for art, food, and local crafts. There are small shops, a library, and areas for community use. Visitors and residents meet and share the same space. In a place shaped by trade and change, these homes offer a different path. Not control, but adaptation. In the sharp morning light, the domes glow against red and blue water. Between tradition and modern design, balance forms. On Hormuz Island, Majara does not pull people away from the land. It brings them back into it. Rainbow Valley, Hormuz Island. What kind of land carries every color at once? Yet stays quiet. Rainbow Valley spreads across Hormuz Island like a painted memory of Earth. It sits in the center of the island. Hills rise in bands of red, yellow, violet, green, and gray. These colors come from more than 70 types of minerals. Iron oxides like hematite create deep reds. Ochre and sulfur bring yellow and orange tones. Copper and other minerals add soft greens and blues. Salt and carbonates form bright white layers. All of this was shaped over millions of years by a rising salt dome, pushing through older rock and sediment. The land is always changing in light and air. The climate feels dry and still. Wind and rare rain slowly shape the terrain. They carve soft valleys and sharp ridges into the hills. In the morning sun, the colors look bright and almost electric. After rain, thin streams of red and yellow soil run down the slopes. They flow toward the sea, sometimes turning the water a light pink for a short time. Even the wind feels careful as it moves through the folds of land. Closer, the textures become clear. The ground is soft and loose. Fine grains slide under each step and stain the skin. The air carries a light mineral smell mixed with salt. The surface feels alive with color, as if pigment is part of the land itself. Stories grow in this place. Local people speak of fire beneath the island. They describe ancient heat shaping the land from below. These ideas connect to real geology as the island formed from volcanic activity and salt movement deep underground. Others see the valley as a memory of something lost, held in stone and dust. Between science and myth, the line becomes thin. Rainbow Valley feels both ancient and alive. It is one of the clearest signs of why Hormuz is called the Rainbow Island. Here, the Earth shows its history in color without words across a landscape that feels almost unreal. Salt Caves, Hormuz Island, a mountain that glows white under the sun. But what lies inside its shadow? The salt caves of Hormuz Island open along pale hills shaped by time and pressure. These caves come from a deep past. More than 500 million years ago, thick layers of salt formed under an ancient sea. Over time, this lighter salt pushed upward through heavier rock. It rose slowly like a moving mass until it broke the surface and formed the island itself. This process created a large salt dome, now exposed in caves and cliffs. Outside, the light feels harsh and bright. Inside, it softens. The air cools often below 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Walls shine with translucent halite crystals, thin salt stalactites. Smooth surfaces show where water has shaped the rock. Rare rain seeps through cracks, dissolving and reshaping the salt over time. Some chambers hold traces of iron gypsum and volcanic material. These minerals catch the light and give off a faint glow in silver and white. Water drips slowly from above. Each drop echoes through the space. The caves feel still, almost sealed from time. Yet for many, this place holds more than science. Local stories speak of the island breathing through stone. They describe hidden memories inside the earth where silence carries meaning. Salt caves, Hormuz Island, a mountain that glows white under the sun. But what lies inside its shadow? The salt caves of Hormuz Island open along pale hills shaped by time and pressure. These caves come from a deep past. More than 500 million years ago, thick layers of salt formed under an ancient sea. Over time, this lighter salt pushed upward through heavier rock. It rose slowly like a moving mass until it broke the surface and formed the island itself. This process created a large salt dome, now exposed in caves and cliffs. Outside, the light feels harsh and bright. Inside, it softens. The air cools often below 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Walls shine with translucent halite crystals, thin salt stalactites. Smooth surfaces show where water has shaped the rock. Rare rain seeps through cracks, dissolving and reshaping the salt over time. Some chambers hold traces of iron gypsum and volcanic material. These minerals catch the light and give off a faint glow in silver and white. Water drips slowly from above. Each drop echoes through the space. The caves feel still, almost sealed from time. Yet for many, this place holds more than science. Local stories speak of the island breathing through stone. They describe hidden memories inside the earth where silence carries meaning. Hengam Island. How does an island adapt when the sea shapes every hour of the day? Hengam is a small, quiet island in the Persian Gulf. It lies about 1.2 miles southeast of Qeshm Island. The island covers about 13 square miles. And rises to about 350 feet at its highest point. The land is formed by low limestone hills, black sand beaches, rich in minerals, and red soil common to the Hormuz region. On Hengam Island, life stays close to the water. A few hundred families live in small villages. Homes sit low against wind and heat. Mornings start early, boats move out before sunrise. Nets are cast in a steady rhythm, engines fade into open water. Fishing remains the main source of income. It is work learned young and passed through generations. The sea provides but never guarantees. Each return to shore carries some uncertainty. Closer still, daily life slows. Women gather in shaded areas, preparing food and making crafts. Small markets appear with shells, textiles, and handmade goods for visitors. Voices rise softly, then fade. Culture lives in routine, not display. It shows in small actions and daily habits. There is no clear line between work and identity. Wild Dolphin Bay, Hengam Island. At first light, the sea near Hengam begins to move. In the shallow waters of Wild Dolphin Bay, life appears just below the surface. A fin cuts through the water, then another. Pods of Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphins gather here. They usually measure about 6.5 to 9 feet long. Their bodies are smooth and gray, sometimes shining silver in sunlight. They move in small groups of about 5 to 15. These dolphins are social and curious. They swim in smooth arcs, leap, and sometimes ride the waves near boats. They use clicks and whistles to communicate and to find food in the water. Fish and small sea animals make up their diet. In the early light, their movement turns the bay into a quiet, natural display. Fishermen and guides keep a safe distance. Boats slow down, engines grow quiet. They allow the dolphins to move freely. This practice is not a strict law. It comes from habit and respect built over time. It helps protect the animals while allowing people to witness them. In the soft light of morning, with boats drifting, and dolphins moving across the water, the island feels balanced. Here, people do not try to control the sea, they move with it. And on Hengam Island, life continues in a quiet agreement between humans and nature, shaped by respect and time. Kish Island. Known as the Pearl of the Persian Gulf, Kish is Iran's first free economic zone. It has grown into a busy international hub for business and tourism that feels very different from the rest of the region. It has about 55,000 residents and draws up to 12 million visitors each year. As a free economic zone, it allows many travelers to stay up to 14 days without a visa. Wide boulevards run alongside the calm beaches. Modern shops and markets glow under soft lights, their glass windows reflecting the blue waters of the Gulf. The air carries the smell of salt and the energy of commerce. Life here moves at a steady pace, yet even with all the hotel's restaurants and visitors, older traditions remain strong. Every morning, fishing boats still head out from the harbor at dawn, just as they have for generations. The sea continues to shape daily life on the island. Walk through the streets and you'll see the community in layers. Families stroll along the coastal paths in the evening. Shops stay busy but relaxed. People sit and talk in shaded courtyards and open cafes. Work and leisure exist side by side. Tourism brings money to the island, but it hasn't taken over. The people of Kish have found a way to welcome the future while holding on to their roots. They are building a modern life without forgetting where they came from. Kish Luxury Waterfront, Kish Island. Kish's waterfront moves to a different rhythm. Walkways run along the sea. Modern hotels rise with glass walls that reflect sky and water. Palm trees stand in neat rows. Restaurants serve both local and international food, where design and taste carry equal weight. The air mixes salt with light perfume and distant music. Here in the Strait of Hormuz, the shoreline shows clear change. An island once shaped by trade and fishing now holds marinas, shops, and leisure spaces. Boats rest in calm water, sleek and modern light moves across their surfaces. Along the promenade, people walk slowly, cafes open toward the sea. Conversations blend with the soft sound of waves. Kari's underground. City Kish Island, stone, descends beneath the island, carrying silence below the bright surface. What survives there? Kari's underground city stretches under Kish like a hidden network. Known as Kari's, it began as a qanat system built between 1,000 and 2,500 years ago. These tunnels run for miles and reach depths of about 50 feet. Some ceilings rise as high as 25 feet. They once carried fresh water across the island, protecting it from heat and evaporation. The air cools as the path drops, often near 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Walls curve overhead, lined with coral and fossil remains from an ancient seabed. Some fossils date back over 250 million years. Shells and marine shapes remain visible in the stone. Light filters softly through the space. Today, parts of the tunnels are lit and open to visitors. Quiet music sometimes fills the halls, turning the space into a mix of history and culture. Closer still, the structure reveals its depth. Passages open into wide chambers. Surfaces show marks of water and time. Each step echoes, the air holds a faint mineral scent. Some visitors see more than engineering here. Stories suggest the underground holds memory, a place where the island keeps what it cannot show above. The Greek ship Kish Island, yet older layers remain. In the north, the ruins of Harire recall a past of trade and movement. Nearby, an old banyan tree spreads wide, its roots deep in the island's history. These quiet places sit beside modern life without conflict. At the edge of the island, a ship stands still. The Greek ship rests in shallow water off the coast. Built in 1943, it ran aground in 1966. And was left behind. Its large steel frame now rusts under sun and salt. Waves touch it again and again in a soft rhythm. Up close, the details show time at work. The deck is broken edges are worn and thin. Seabirds circle above their calls, fading into the wind. The ship no longer moves, yet it remains a strong presence. On Kish Island, past and present exist side by side. Modern streets Ancient tunnels, old ruins, and a silent ship all share the same space. Together, they show how time shapes both land and life without ever fully standing still. Bandar Abbas. First comes Bandar Abbas, the bustling capital of Hormuz province and Iran's most important commercial gateway on the Persian Gulf. Strategically positioned directly north of the strait, this major port handles vast quantities of cargo, oil, and goods that flow in and out of the country. Massive container ships and naval vessels rest along its long docks, their steel hulls reflecting the intense Gulf sun. The hum of engines and cranes speaks of a city that serves the world's energy needs. Yet just beyond the industrial waterfront, another Bandar Abbas reveals itself warmer, more colorful, and profoundly human. At first light, the famous fish market awakens with raw energy. Fishermen, their faces weathered by salt and sun, unload the night's catch, gleaming silver fish piles of plump shrimp crabs still moving, and the occasional prized lobster. The air grows thick with the sharp, briny scent of the sea, mixed with the cries of vendors and the laughter of early buyers. Closer still, the true soul of the city emerges in its people. Women in vibrant Bandari dress, flowing, colorful chadors, embroidered trousers, and sometimes the traditional niqab or burqa. That protects against the relentless sun and wind move gracefully between stalls. Their bright fabrics embroidered with gold and silver threads turn the market into a living tapestry of southern Iranian identity. Here in Bandar Abbas, life does not bow to the weight of its strategic importance. Instead, it flows with resilience and warmth, fishermen returning at dusk, mothers preparing meals, and the ever-present sea reminding everyone that no matter how large the tankers passing offshore, the daily rhythms of ordinary people endure. Minab, a short journey eastward along the coast, leads to Minab, a quieter, more intimate town, often called the heart of traditional Bandari culture. While Bandar Abbas pulses with the scale of international trade, Minab whispers with the timeless rhythms of agriculture, fishing, and weekly tradition. Minab is famous across Iran for its lush date palm groves and the legendary Thursday market. Every Thursday, villagers from surrounding areas converge on the town in a vibrant explosion of color and sound. Women in intricate bandari attire their faces, sometimes framed by handmade masks that once shielded them from sun, sand, and history. They sell fresh, shrimp-golden dates at every stage of ripeness, hand-woven baskets, spices, and embroidered textiles. The air fills with the sweet aroma of ripening dates, the salty tang of just-caught seafood, and the lively calls of merchants. Laughter rises easily between bargaining and greetings. This is not merely a market. It is a weekly celebration of community resilience and cultural pride in one of southern Iran's most authentic settings. Closer still, the date palm groves surrounding Minab reveal another layer of quiet strength. Tall palms sway gently in the breeze, their fronds casting long shadows over ancient irrigation channels, fed by qanat systems that have sustained life here for centuries. Farmers tend the trees with practiced hands, harvesting dates that will travel far beyond the strait. Nearby, small fishing communities launch boats at dawn, their wooden lenges gliding across calm waters. In the evenings, families gather along the riverbank, sharing stories as the sun sets in hues of orange and crimson. In Minab, life moves at a slower, deeper pace. It is poorer and more conservative than its larger neighbor, yet it feels profoundly welcoming and rooted. Here, the hidden life of the Strait of Hormuz reveals itself not in grand ports or colorful islands, but in the patient cultivation of date palms, the weekly gathering of colorful markets, and the steady hands of fishermen and women who carry centuries of Bandari tradition with quiet dignity. Bandar Khamir. This is a peaceful harbor town, nestled directly opposite the western end of Qeshm Island. Once a modest fishing settlement, Bandar Khamir is now quietly transforming into a gateway for sustainable tourism and eco-friendly development. While still holding tightly to its traditional soul. At dawn, the small port comes alive with the gentle sounds of wooden Lengeh boats rocking against the wooden piers. Fishermen in simple clothing unload their catch, their voices low and rhythmic as they call to one another. The air carries the clean, sharp scent of the sea mixed with the faint aroma of drying fish and fresh dates. Closer still, the town reveals its understated charm. Narrow streets, lined with low, whitewashed houses, carry the sound of laughter. Mixed with the distant call to prayer. What makes Bandar Khamir special is its delicate balance. While modern plans for eco-lodges and cultural tours slowly take shape, the daily life of its people remains anchored in the sea and the land. Fishermen still mend their nets by hand. Families gather in the evenings to share stories of the Gulf, just as their grandparents once did. In this quiet corner of the strait, progress does not erase tradition. It learns to walk beside it. Here, the hidden life of the region continues in its most gentle form, patient, resilient, and deeply connected to both the rhythm of the tide and the changing needs of tomorrow. Bandar Lengeh. Further along the coast, the journey reaches Bandar Lengeh, known affectionately as the Bride of Iran's ports. This historic town, with its long crescent-shaped harbour, once served as one of the most important trading centres on the Persian Gulf during the 19th and early 20th centuries. Today it stands as a living guardian of Iran's maritime cultural heritage. As the sun rises over the Gulf, the famous Lengeh shipyards come alive with the steady musical rhythm of hammers striking wood. Master boat builders, many of them descendants of generations of craftsmen, work with the same traditional techniques used for centuries. Long planks of imported teak and local woods are carefully bent and joined without modern drawings, guided only by memory, experience, and an intimate understanding of the sea. The air is rich with the warm, resinous scent of fresh timber and the sharp tang of marine varnish. These graceful wooden vessels, known as Lengeh or Lengeh boats, were once the backbone of trade fishing and pearl diving across the Gulf. Even now, some still sail proudly between the islands and mainland. Closer still, the soul of Bandar Lengeh reveals itself beyond the shipyards. In the old quarters, women practice the delicate art of Bandari embroidery and palm weaving their fingers, moving with practiced grace. Small harbors shelter fishing boats that head out before first light, returning with the day's catch to feed local families and markets. While the world's giant tankers pass far offshore, carrying the lifeblood of global energy, the people of this area continue their own timeless journey. Building boats by hand, casting nets into the same waters their ancestors knew, and preserving a rich cultural identity that refuses to fade. Khasab, as the Iranian coastline gently recedes across the narrow waters, the journey crosses to the southern shores of the Strait of Hormuz. Here, the dramatic fjords and rugged mountains of the Musandam Peninsula rise sharply from the sea, marking the Omani side of this vital gateway. The first town to greet the eye is Khasab, the largest settlement on the Musandam Peninsula and often called the Norway of Arabia. Towering limestone cliffs plunge dramatically into turquoise waters, carving deep, narrow inlets known as Khor's natural fjords that cut far into the heart of the mountains. From a distance, the landscape feels wild and untamed, a strategic sentinel guarding the southern entrance to the strait. Giant tankers still glide past on the horizon, their massive hulls dwarfed by the sheer cliffs. Yet just beyond the modern port where dhows and speedboats gather, a quieter, more intimate life unfolds. Traditional wooden dhows slip silently out of the harbor for dolphin-watching tours or fishing expeditions. Pods of Indo-Pacific humpback dolphins frequently accompany the boats, leaping and playing in the bow waves as if in greeting. The hidden life of Khasab reveals itself in the small fishing villages nestled inside the fjords. Families live in modest white houses perched on rocky slopes, their daily rhythm dictated by the sea and the mountains. Despite its strategic location and growing tourism, Khasab retains a gentle, unhurried soul. The people here, a mix of Omani Arabs and descendants of ancient seafarers, continue to balance the demands of the modern world with deep respect for the sea that has sustained them for centuries. In this dramatic corner of the Strait of Hormuz, life does not compete with the towering cliffs or passing tankers. It simply flows alongside them, resilient, welcoming, and quietly beautiful. Madha, this small territory completely surrounded by the United Arab Emirates is a geographical curiosity, an Omani enclave nestled within UAE territory, and within Madha itself sits the even smaller UAE counter-enclave of Nawar. At first glance, Madha appears as a peaceful green oasis amid arid mountains. Palm groves and modest farms stretch along a narrow valley sustained by precious springs of fresh water that have flowed here for centuries. The air is sweeter, cooler, and filled with the rustling sound of date palms. The hidden life of this unique borderland reveals its gentle rhythm. Around 3,000 residents, mostly Omani, live in quiet villages that cross invisible borders without fences or checkpoints. In Madha, borders that appear so important on maps matter far less in daily life. Neighbors from both Omani and Emirati sides visit each other freely. Schools, clinics, and mosques serve the community without regard to nationality. In this tiny green pocket, surrounded by desert and disputed lines, the Strait of Hormuz shows yet another face. One where human resilience and neighborly warmth triumph over the rigid lines drawn on maps. Ras Al Khaimah. On the southern shore of the Strait of Hormuz lies Ras Al Khaimah, or Rak, a quieter, more grounded part of the UAE, home to nearly 400,000 people. The emirate offers a slower pace of life than Dubai or Abu Dhabi. A two-bedroom apartment rents for about $8,000 to $13,500 a year. And monthly utilities usually cost between $135 and $220. Most residents drive, but fuel is affordable. A simple meal at a local restaurant costs $5 to $11. Families enjoy the beaches, mountains, and hot springs at Kat without the heavy crowds of bigger cities. Although the economy is growing in tourism and industry, daily life here still keeps its roots. Fishing boats head out at dawn, and people continue to live close to the sea and the rugged Hajar Mountains. In Ras Al Khaimah, modern opportunities exist alongside a calm, traditional way of life. a hidden side of the strait where people balance progress with the simple rhythms of family and nature. Fujairah is the only emirate of the UAE located on the Gulf of Oman, positioned strategically outside the narrow Strait of Hormuz. This positioning has made Fujairah one of the world's most important bunkering and oil export hubs. With massive tankers lining up at its deep water ports to load fuel without entering the congested strait. The industrial port hums with quiet efficiency, a vital alternative route for global energy flows. Yet just a short distance from the towering cranes and storage tanks, another Fujairah reveals itself wilder, quieter, and profoundly beautiful. Rugged mountains drop straight into the sea, creating dramatic rocky coves and long stretches of untouched beach. Small fishing villages cling to the shoreline, where traditional wooden boats still launch at first light. Date palms and mango groves thrive in sheltered valleys, while ancient forts and watchtowers stand guard over trading routes used for centuries. Elders share stories of pearl divers and dhow captains who once sailed these waters. Despite the scale of its modern port, Fujairah has preserved pockets of serene beauty and simple coastal living. Here, the sea remains not only a highway for oil, but also a source of livelihood, inspiration, and peace for those who call its shores home. From quiet fishing villages to busy shores, the Strait of Hormuz has shown us its hidden side. Life here continues every day, far from the headlines. Fishermen bring in their catch, with the tide kids play along the coast. Salt is harvested. Wooden boats are still built by hand. This place is often known for tension and conflict, but it's also full of real people living real lives, steady, strong, and rooted in their daily rhythms. If this journey gave you a new look at the world, please subscribe to the channel and join us for the next one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Kalmykia. Kalmykia is the only Buddhist majority region in Europe. With 160,000 residents across 29,000 square miles. The Golden Temple in Elista, built in 2005, stands 207 feet tall and holds a 30-foot Buddha statue. Chess became mandatory in schools in 1998 under a president who was a grandmaster. The Republic's steppe landscape sees camels graze beside Buddhist prayer flags. Over 30 temples dot the capital, serving 50% of the population. Kalmykia plants Tibetan tradition in Russian soil. Europe's Eastern faith thrives here. Sakhalin Island. Sakhalin Island stretches 600 miles long and lies just 25 miles off the mainland, connected in winter by ice roads 3 feet thick. Offshore platforms pump 600,000 barrels of oil daily, supplying 3% of Russia's total output. The island's population of 500,000 lives mostly in the south, while the north stays roadless taiga. Summer fog blankets the coast for 120 days, grounding flights and ships. Indigenous Niv people still hunt seals from 20-foot skin boats along the eastern shore. Winter temperatures hit 40 degrees Celsius, freezing the Sea of Okhotsk solid for 6 months. Sakhalin turns ice and oil into survival. Trans-Siberian Railway. The Trans-Siberian Railway is the sole line of Russia runs 5,772 miles from Moscow to Vladivostok, crossing 7 time zones. Completed in 1916, it took 25 years and 90,000 workers to build. The route climbs 300 feet over the Ural Mountains and skirts Lake Baikal for 125 miles. Trains carry 100 million passengers yearly, connecting 87 cities. Birch forest steps and tiger flash past windows for 7 straight days. The line moves coal timber and people across 1/6 of the planet's land. Russia travels on these rails. Nizhny Novgorod. Nizhny Novgorod sits 260 miles east of Moscow . At the confluence of the Volga and Oka rivers, handling 50 million tons of cargo yearly. Its stone Kremlin, built in 1500, covers 22 acres and has never fallen to an enemy. The city hosted Russia's largest trade fair from 1817 to 1930, drawing merchants from China to Europe. A 300-foot cable car crosses the Volga in 12 minutes, the longest river span in Europe. The population reaches 1.2 million, yet Moscow overshadows its historic role. Nizhny Novgorod once rivaled the capital in wealth and power. History still trades here. Caucasus Mountains. The Caucasus Mountains span 700 miles, hosting 50 ethnic groups. In an area the size of California, Mount Elbrus, at 18,510 feet, stands as Europe's highest point and a dormant volcano. Over 2,000 glaciers cover 560 square miles, feeding rivers. That irrigate 5 million acres of farmland. The region produces 20% of Russia's wine from vineyards at 3,000 feet elevation. Ancient watchtowers dot ridges built 1,000 years ago to guard trade routes. The Caucasus melts nations into mountains. Volgograd. Volgograd, once Stalingrad, endured a 200-day battle in 1942-43 that claimed 2 million lives. The Motherland Calls statue rises 285 feet, the tallest in Europe, when built in 1967. The city stretches 50 miles along the Volga River, rebuilt after 90% destruction in the war. Mamayev Kurgan Hill changed hands 10 times now, a memorial with mass graves. Grain elevators from the battle still stand pockmarked by bullets. Volgograd's 1 million residents live atop history's largest graveyard. War forged this city's second life. Dargav's village. Do you want to visit City of the Dead? Dargav's holds 99 stone crypts, on a Caucasus hillside, built between the 16th and 18th centuries. Each whitewashed building contains wooden boats with skeletons despite no nearby river. Plague victims were sealed inside with food for the afterlife, a local custom. The village sits at 6,500 feet, reachable only by a steep mountain road. Archaeologists found over 10,000 bones in the structures. Locals avoid entering, believing the dead guard the site. Dargav's freezes time in stone. Kul Sharif Mosque. Kul Sharif Mosque rises inside Kazan's Kremlin. completed in 2005 to replace the original destroyed in 1552. Four minarets reach 190 feet, visible across the Volga River. The main dome spans 130 feet and weighs 1,200 tons, made of concrete, faced with marble. It holds 1,500 worshippers, with separate halls for men and women. The mosque's blue tiles symbolize Tatar culture, while the Kremlin walls represent Russian power. Kazan's 1.2 million residents include equal numbers of Muslims and Orthodox Christians. Stone bridges two faiths in one courtyard. Dagestan. Dagestan packs 30 ethnic groups into 19,000 square miles, each speaking its own language. Gunib village perches at 900 feet on a cliff ledge reachable only by a single switchback road, carved in 1860. The 1859 surrender of Imam Shamil to Russian forces here ended the Caucasian War after 25 years. Stone terraces cascade 1,000 feet down the slope, growing apricots and walnuts. Over 2,000 ancient petroglyphs cover nearby canyon walls, depicting hunters and solar symbols. The region rises from sea level to 14,000-foot peaks in under 100 miles. Dagestan fits a nation's diversity into one republic, one region, countless worlds. Solovetsky Monastery. Solovetsky Monastery was founded in 1436 on a remote White Sea island, covering 115 square miles. Monks built stone walls 25 feet thick using boulders hauled by hand. The Soviet government turned it into the first Gulag camp in 1923, holding 80,000 prisoners over 16 years. Inmates carved a 30-mile canal through granite with picks and shovels. The monastery reopened for worship in 1990 and now houses 10 monks. UNESCO listed the site in 1992 for both spiritual and dark history. Solovetsky carries prayer and pain in the same stones. Chukotka. Chukotka lies 53 miles from Alaska across the Bering Strait, the closest Russia gets to America. The region covers 280,000 square miles, yet only 50,000 people live there. Reindeer herds number 150,000, outnumbering humans 3-to-1. Winter lasts 9 months, with temperatures dropping to 60 degrees. Indigenous Chukchi and Yupik people still hunt whales from skin boats. The area holds Russia's largest walrus rookeries with 100,000 animals on coastal rocks. Chukotka guards Russia's frozen frontier. Katu Yarik Pass. It's called the Devil's Staircase. Katu Yarik Pass drops an astonishing 625 to 2,950 feet. In roughly 2.5 miles of sharp hairpin turns meticulously carved into the Altai Cliffs in October 1989. The unpaved gravel road is brutally steep, with some sections reaching an estimated grade well over 20%, demanding a cautious low-gear descent. Only high-clearance 4x4 vehicles should attempt it. Larger vehicles like buses must stop at the top. The pass serves as the sole motorized link for the Chulishman Valley to the outside world. Landslides, particularly after heavy rains, are common and can temporarily close the pass. The view from the top is a legendary panorama, offering a stunning vista into the deep, dramatic canyon below. Katu Yarik earns every foot of fear, of Kemerovo, Kemerovo Oblast Kuzbas mines nearly 240 million tons of coal, yearly supplying over half of Russia's total national output. The region's 2.6 million residents, including the city's 560,000 inhabitants, live above seams, with reported thicknesses ranging up to 440 feet. A single open-pit mine can cover many square miles and operates around the clock. Winter temperatures regularly plunge to a frigid 40-degree Celsius, yet the massive conveyor systems run non-stop. The Qeshm region holds an estimated 700 billion tons in total geological reserves. This immense industrial output comes at a cost, with coal dust frequently coloring the surrounding snow black. Kemerovo keeps the vast machine of Russia running. Novosibirsk, Novosibirsk anchors Siberia's scientific core, with Akademgorodok a research town built in dense forest. Dozens of institutes study everything from viruses to stars. The Ob River cuts through the city, freezing solid for months. A massive opera house dominates the skyline, hosting world-class performances. The Trans-Siberian Railway stops here, linking east and west. Local engineers designed the first Soviet supercomputer. Winter grips the city at 40 degrees, yet labs stay open. Scientists live in wooden cottages among birch trees. The city's zoo holds rare snow leopards born in captivity. Novosibirsk turns cold isolation into discovery. Altai Mountains. The Altai Mountains hide valleys untouched by roads. Cover 325,000 square miles. With 1,500 glaciers feeding rivers that water 3 million people. Mount Belukha stands as the spiritual center for local tribes. Ancient rock carvings show shamans and wild horses. Golden eagles circle above remote yurt camps. Snow leopards prowl ridges at night. Rivers begin here, flowing to 3 countries. Nomads still herd yaks across high plateaus. Petroglyph sites remain guarded by tradition. The air stays clean, the silence deep. Altai keeps old ways alive. Kara Sands. Kara Sands spreads golden dunes across Siberia's frozen heart. Pine forests grow steps from shifting sand. Glaciers tower nearby, feeding underground streams. Summer heat bakes the ground. Winter buries it in snow. No town sits close. Only helicopters reach the site. Footprints vanish within hours. Reindeer wander the edges at dawn. The desert lies trapped between taiga and tundra. Locals call it a place out of time. Kara Sands breaks every rule of nature. Russia is not one country, it is many worlds stacked inside a single border. From frozen deserts to subtropical coasts, from silent monasteries to roaring volcanoes, every corner carries a different truth. These places do not ask for your approval. They demand your attention. They remind us that a nation can hold opposites without breaking. The story is far from over. The land keeps writing new chapters in stone, ice, and fire. Stay curious. The next secret is already waiting. Sochi. Sochi sits on the Black Sea, where palm trees grow 30 miles from 8,000-foot ski slopes. The 2014 Winter Olympics built 11 new venues in a subtropical climate that averages 70 degrees in February. The city spans 90 miles of coastline, yet the Caucasus Mountains rise directly behind it. Beaches fill with sunbathers, while snowboarders ride fresh powder the same day. Sochi's humid summers hit 95 degrees, but winter snowfalls reach 20 feet in the mountains. This narrow strip packs Mediterranean and Alpine worlds into one zip code. Sochi defies seasonal logic. Stolby Nature Reserve. Stolby protects 180 granite pillars, up to 330 feet tall across 116 square miles near Krasnoyarsk. Local climbers, called stolbists, free climb the rocks, using routes passed down since the 1850s. The reserve bands ropes on most pillars to preserve tradition and challenge. Deep-seated magma intrusions 400 million years ago formed the syenite spires, which were later exposed by erosion. Over 1,000 marked routes exist with names like Grandfather and Feather. Winter ice turns the rocks into vertical skating rinks. Stolby turns stone into a playground. Krasnoyarsk. Krasnoyarsk dominates the Yenisei River, a powerful waterway crucial for navigation. The red brick Paraskeva Pyatnitsa Chapel stands prominently on a hill, serving as an iconic symbol featured on Russia's 10-ruble banknote. The Stolby Nature Reserve, just 4 miles away, protects 180 majestic syenite pillars towering up to 330 feet tall. The city's population hits 1.1 million, though it often grapples with industrial smog during the winter months. A massive bridge spanning 700 feet, completed in 1986, links the city across the river. Krasnoyarsk marks the halfway point on the Trans-Siberian Railway, serving as a major industrial hub. Siberia opens its heart and its greatest challenges here. Mount Belukha. Mount Belukha rises 14,783 feet. As the highest peak in the Altai range, capped by glaciers covering 27 square miles. Local Altaians call it Suma, the three-peaked guardian of the world. The mountain sits 60 miles from the borders of China, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia. Summer climbing routes gain 6,500 feet in a single day, crossing ice fields. Petroglyphs, 5,000 years old, surround the base, showing shamans and deer. Belukha's snowmelt feeds the Kharton River lifeline for 200,000 people downstream. This peak guards more than altitude. Yekaterinburg. Yekaterinburg straddles the Europe-Asia border, marked by a 100-foot obelisk 11 miles from downtown. The city's 1.5 million residents live across 2 continents in one metro area. Tsar Nicholas II and his family were executed here in 1918, ending 300 years of Romanov rule. The Ural Mountains rise just west, peaking at 6,217 feet within city limits. A 300-foot dam on the Iset River created a reservoir that powers local industry. Ural Mountains. The Ural Mountains run 500 miles north to south, forming the official boundary between Europe and Asia. Peaks average 300 feet, with Mount Narodnaya topping out at 6,217 feet. The range holds 48 species of mammals, including wolves and lynx, across 150,000 square miles. Permafrost covers the northern third, preserving 10,000-year-old mammoth bones. Mining produces 100% of Russia's platinum and 40% of its copper. The Urals separate continents, without fanfare. Stone draws the line. Chukotka lies 53 miles from Alaska. Across the Bering Strait, the closest Russia gets to America. The region covers 280,000 square miles, yet only 50,000 people live there. Reindeer herds number 150,000, outnumbering humans 3 to 1. Winter lasts 9 months, with temperatures dropping to 60 degrees Celsius. Indigenous Chukchi and Yupik people still hunt whales from skin boats. The area holds Russia's largest walrus rookeries with 100,000 animals on coastal rocks. Chukotka guards Russia's frozen frontier. Sergeyev Posad. Sergeyev Posad centers on the Trinity Lavra Monastery, founded in 1337 and covering 50 acres. The monastery's blue onion domes rise 300 feet, painted with 24-karat gold leaf. Over 300 monks live within walls that withstood a 16-month Polish siege in 1608. The icon of the Trinity, painted by Andrei Rublev in 1411, draws 1 million pilgrims yearly. The town's 100,000 residents support 50 churches in a 10-mile radius. Moscow's patriarch trains here before taking office. Sergei Posad keeps Russia's faith alive. Peterhof Palace. Peterhof Palace runs 168 fountains. Across 2,500 acres without a single pump, using gravity from 60-foot-high reservoirs. The Grand Cascade features 64 fountains and 37 gilded statues, completed in 1723. Underground pipes stretch 12 miles to feed the system from natural springs. The Samson Fountain shoots water 66 feet high, symbolizing Russia's 1709 victory over Sweden. Winter freezes the grounds solid for 6 months, protecting the pipes. Peterhof moves 10,000 gallons of water per minute. Gravity rules this kingdom. Vladivostok. Vladivostok sits 760 miles east of Moscow, closer to Tokyo than to the capital. The Golden Horn Bay stretches 4 miles long and shelters Russia's Pacific Fleet home port for 60 warships. A cable-stayed bridge completed in 2012 spans 700 feet, the longest of its kind in the world at the time. The city's population hits 600,000, yet fresh seafood markets outnumber fast food chains. Winter temperatures drop to 20 degrees Celsius. Yet the vital port maintains year-round access, traditionally kept open by icebreakers. Vladivostok links Russia to Asia by railroad and sea. This city turns the Pacific into Russia's front door. Veliki Novgorod. Veliki Novgorod ran as a republic from the 12th to 15th centuries, electing leaders through a public assembly. The city's Kremlin, built in 1045, is the oldest in Russia. And covers 30 acres along the Volkhov River. Over 5,000 birch bark letters found in the soil record daily life from the year 1000 onward. Saint Sophia Cathedral inside the walls dates to 1045 and still holds services. Merchants voted on laws in the town square centuries before parliaments elsewhere. Novgorod's written records predate Moscow's by 200 years. Democracy took root here first. Oymyakon, pole of cold. Oymyakon recorded 90 degrees in 1933, the lowest temperature ever in a permanently inhabited place. The village sits 200-300 feet above sea level in a valley that traps freezing air. Residents leave car engines running 24 hours a day in winter to prevent freezing. Eyelashes ice over in minutes, and metal sticks to skin on contact. Only 500 people live here year-round, surviving on reindeer meat and fish. The ground stays frozen 10 feet deep, making burial impossible in winter. Oymyakon turns cold into a way of life.